one word. But that means the right people are in the house arrest.
5,000 people. Let's not make
Isn't
a
it that?
let's make a mockery of democracy.
People are under house arrest.
5,000 people were under house arrest at that time. 144 was throughout the state. This court, Manadina judgment has recognized that. Well, the internet was shut down and then they are saying there were no buns. Why? How can there be buns when people can't even go to hospital? People could not go to hospital because of the bun. They died.
I wish a single.
Let's not go into all this.
Mr. Sibil,
I wish we don't enter into this dialogue.
Mr. Attorney, Mr. Sibil, we have, right from the inception of the hearing, we have heard this matter in a sense of dispassionateness.
Absolutely.
The sense of objectivity which must govern an answer to a constitutional challenge. We request both sides. Let's maintain it at that level.
Absolutely.
Because, yes.
I don't think neither the solicitor nor me has entered into the domain to try to color the mind of the judges. We have not done that. I don't know about that.
All right. Yes, Mr. Attorney.
As I say that the famous principle versus rules and the hard cases thesis to Dworkin. One wonders we are not in a situation like this. We're taking off from where I left day 4 yesterday. There's a couple of digressions I would like to probably play before a lot before I. Because when you talk about the intent of a law, Wittgenstein, who co-authored with Bertrand Russell, and his famous philosophical investigation, he talks about a signpost. How do we know what a signpost means? There must be a practice of using the signpost and an understanding which develops over the using of the signpost. Without that practice and understanding, the signpost means nothing. So this principle has been used in various circumstances to bring closer. If there is an understanding about a law on the basis of a practice, then interpretation follows one course, one trajectory. But if there is a lack of understanding or conflict of understanding, interpretation heads in another trajectory. Therefore, when you are trying to understand the intent and connect with the content of Article 370, you have to keep in mind what went into the original author's making of 370 and what has happened over a period of time by the practice of using Article 370. So, a text sometimes, by reason of its aging and the use of the text, may demonstrate a certain practice which may show in a slightly different direction. That's why in the context of desuetude, two important principles come. A disuse plus a contrary practice. I don't get into the desuetude doctrine, it's not necessary for a purpose. I don't want to flag that. So when you're trying to understand 370 in a perspective, we have all these complexities. It's not merely a case of reading the text, looking at the text and the context and arriving at a meaning. We are confounded by the practice of Article 370, whether in conformity with the original intent or in deviation from it. So the court is now called upon to look at the age of the text and the use of the text and how in current times the president understands both the original text and the use of the text, and the president now understands this is what I would like to do with the text. So I left day for yesterday on this proposition when the president is not precluded for what I call the taking stock of what Article 370 has done over a period of time. This taking stock is written into Article 370. So while we do that, how the president may take stock and how the court will be called upon to have a glimpse of understanding of what the president intended to by taking stock. I just want to place 5-6 propositions in the context of construction against absurdity. These are all gathered from books on interpretation of statutes. Because the presumption against absurdity will, number one, avoid an impossible result.
Presumption?
It will also avoid an unworkable or impracticable result. I'll put them all together and hand it to your lordships now. And it will also avoid an anomalous or illogical result. And connected to that is to avoid a futile or a pointless result.
What is the third one you said, Mr. Attorney?
First one is
No,
an impossible result.
no, third one.
Third one, an inconvenient result. An anomalous or illogical result. An anomalous or illogical result. And the final one, I said a futile or a pointless result. All these will go into courts looking again the presumption against absurdity. So court will avoid a construction that requires a person who that which is impossible. The doctrine of impossible is contracted is different, but when it comes to textual impossibility or constitutional text, it may stand on a different footing. That's why all these principles have a certain importance in construing Article 370. I referred briefly the other day about this presidential poll judgment of your lordships. That is 1974 to SCC 33. Before I take your lordship to the 1974, it is a 143 reference in the context of holding elections. Before I take your lordship to that, let me make a few observations. It's not part of the PDF because it's not part of the compilation.
Yes.
So we are trying to look at the proviso to clause 3 of Article 370.
So which is the part of this judgment you want us to see?
I'll give the paragraph, your lordships.
We have it opened up and you have it on the screen.
Yeah, we have paragraph. I'll just summarize the proposition was the presidential election had to be held. Gujarat Assembly was dissolved. Therefore, the electoral college was incomplete. So the argument was, without the electoral college become incomplete, you can't hold a presidential election. Court says they read Articles 55, 54, etc., and come to a conclusion. It's a mandate that you must hold the election before the president term expires. Right. Therefore, the lack of the electoral college not being complete will not come in the way. So that unless you fulfill that impossible, that the court says you must, the argument was, you must have the electoral college completed before you hold the elections.